Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Windfall. And this is a new thriller coming to Netflix, and this is from writer-director Charlie McDowell, and focuses on a man, played by Jason Segel, who breaks into the vacation home of a tech mogul, Jesse Plemons, but Plemons and his wife, Lily Collins, come in and catch him right as he's about to leave, and things go sideways. And this hour-and-a-half thriller is something really impeccably directed, and there's some great cinematography in this film from Isaiah Dante Lee. A lot of very smooth camera pans, great framing, good use of lighting and shadow and darkness, and there's some very impactful shots, very intentional shots that are capturing important details that is just like, oh, it's lingering on this particular thing. How important does that become later in the film? And those kinds of elements, those smart, detailed, and intentional uses of camera really help elevate this thriller, which is pretty bare bones. And like, there's definitely moments where the narrative kind of slows, the narrative might not be as compelling, and it's trying to get onto like the next compelling piece of the narrative that it's having here. But what's really great is the dialogue and the interactions in this film, because it has a lot to say about like tech world and classism and sexism. And there's an impressive empowerment kind of message that's underlying this whole entire film. And it's very interesting because at the beginning of the film, it really feels like it's Jason Segel and Jesse Plemons banging heads together. But you have Lily Collins there, kind of in the background a lot. But there's one particular scene around a fire with Jason Segel late at night where you can feel the momentum of the film and the flow kind of shifting. And there's an interesting dynamic that these characters have, because you have Segel, who you never learn fully what his story is, but you learn enough to make him compelling and relatable enough. But in the end, he winds up making brash decisions that cause certain things to happen where it's intense and suspenseful and shocking. This keeps you on your toes, and you have Jesse Plemons, who's just an asshole. Like, he is a smug man who has this warped sense of, like, self-righteousness and a warped sense of, like, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do your thing and stop being lazy, which there's one particular character who kind of wanders into this situation that's there for a bit. He's introduced for shock value, but also to kind of prove a point of Plemons' character, the CEO's perspective, and the counter perspective that nobody, Jason Segel's character, has. And you have that dynamic. There's a lot of that classism that this film really tackles, and perspective on work and stuff like that. But you have this narrative that goes throughout this film that builds up to this incredible, shocking, and impactful climax, and where the filmmaking really goes off the charts in terms of very evocative and well-intentioned shots of something as simple as feet and something as simple as a piece of art, like sitting there in the living room. And it's so great to see the consequences of each of these characters' actions, because you have Jason Segel is great. He is not funny ha-ha in this. He is an intense and troubled man. Jesse Plemons is a smug, committed, like, he's so committed to this performance. He's just oozing just this antagonistic energy, and you just hate him. And then there's Lily Collins, who is the most interesting character in this film, who is captured on multiple levels. She's stuck on multiple levels. And where this film pushes her, and where actions of the other characters push her, leaves you in a place where it's like, when the dust settles down at the end, you're in a place where it's just like, oh, I didn't see this film going this way. And there's such great progression throughout. You know, like I mentioned, there's some lagging time. There's some times where the film is being a little too methodical in the way that it's setting things up, but this is beautifully shot, beautifully directed. The score from composers Danny Bensi and Sonder Jurians is impeccable. This is like old school noir thriller feeling kind of music that is intense and boisterous and impactful in the way that it just elevates the tension in every single scene. And this film would not be on the same level without that score, and you know that's a sign of a great score. And when this film comes down to it, dust settles down, this was a shocking and poignant story that had a lot to say, even if some of it took a little too long to get there. And in the end, Windfall, I think this is a real winner for Netflix. But those are my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.